Hello, and welcome back to the Follow Your Spark podcast. I am so delighted to have today's guest back with me on the podcast and share her incredible knowledge, wisdom, experience with all of you, and to give you a little window into the incredible human sitting across the screen from me. Martha McAlpine is a woman of many gifts, many strengths, and she leads yoga teacher trainings. She's a Kundalini teacher, end of life trainer, and she works at a studio that I have the pleasure and honor and privilege of attending in Baltimore, Maryland Tribe as the elder teacher and holder of so much wisdom. And to give you a little insight too of why I invited her back on the podcast today for many reasons. And we were at a celebration at Tribe recently, their 2-year anniversary, and the speech, the talk that Martha gave at the end was so incredibly moving and relevant for me that I wanted to bring her back to share with all of you. And one thing that she talked about was Tribe, the studio, is in a moment in time where they've been alive for 2 years and the future is uncertain. And what Martha shared about times of transition and surrender and trust was so potent and so powerful. And I believe is so important for any of us who want to believe in bigger things for ourselves, to pursue visions, to take risks. So I'm so excited to get into this conversation with you today. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know we've been talking about the power of belief recently. So I'm so excited to dive in further. And with that, Martha, welcome. I'm just so excited to have you back today.
It was wonderful to see you. And for those, if you've only known Gina listening, you got to see her move her hips. She was there and she was dancing, and it was just a conversation. And it was a conversation she was having with her feet and the floor and the room and the beat, and it was comfortable. The way you can watch someone have a conversation with another person, and sometimes it's really stilted and you want to step in and help because you just like, oh, that hurts. And this was the opposite. It made me want to get up and it made me want to dance too. And that was such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to talk more about embodiment and working with our bodies. So it's interesting that you brought that up. But yeah, let's dive in. And one thing I would really love to ask you to start off and kick us off is like I've been thinking so much about belief and vision, and I feel like we're in a time of history where so much is changing, so much is evolving, so much is breaking down and being built back up. So I'm curious of even just what comes to your mind. Like, what does belief mean to you? Why do you think it's important right now? Like anything that you want to riff off of on this topic just to kick us off.
So I often teach this metaphor. We have moved, yoga is a gift to us. In particular, Kundalini helps us to understand that we are both infinite and we have a necessity to stabilize the human mind and the human experience. It's a tricky combination because the infinity can throw us out and the stability is necessary. But if we become overstable, we become rigid and we become stuck and inert. And yet when I move too fast, how do I put myself back together? And so the macro of that at a level of civilization helps us understand how can I locate myself in time and space. Previously, the last 1200 years or so, we were in a particular age. And the age was based on who and what you believed in. Because who and what you believed in was what gave you either safety or danger. You can think
Mm,
about the Inquisition. And you can also think about that period of time we were developing science. And what you believed as a scientist could be your ticket to fame and your contribution, or it could also be what took you down. Isaac Newton was a very devoted alchemist, but the alchemy was understood to be an art of the mysteries. And in the culture, that was starting to become very iffy. And when Isaac Newton passed, his assistant burned all of the alchemy notes,
mm,
which would have been as important as all of the Newtonian notes.
mm,
So there was a great structure before us, and that structure created our understanding of law, our understanding then of schooling. We have grades, you move from 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, and there's a gatekeeper, and it keeps an order. And so when I go, there's someone who studies medicine, and then I go to the medical doctor and I say, these are the symptoms, and they say, this is what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a benefit to that because it's allowed us to expand and to handle the complexity that we've needed. However, you could imagine all of that information as little sugar cubes building into a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's someone at the top, and there are a lot of people at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you buy into that structure, your aspiration is often to go up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get up to a college degree. I want to get up to the CEO. But there are way more people than the point.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the age that we're entering, put that sugar cube on a tray and pour water into the tray.
Mm-hmm.
Every molecule of that sugar will stay present, but it will dissolve. And you can think about that as the influence of the internet, that we can all access information. You can create a pot. You didn't have to ask CBS if you could have time to be online.
Mm-hmm.
It's available to you right now. However, that means that there's a lot of really lousy podcasting. And and so we have to create a structure for ourselves. And that self authority that Gina says, I'm going to hit record and I have something to share. That
Mm-hmm.
authority is now necessary for each of us.
Mm.
I have to take the belief I had in the structure,
Mm.
internalize it. I
Yes.
believe in me. And then we create the tools and the graduation that school is for ourselves. And we learn a little bit at a time and we say, what does this do for me? And what does this do for me? I have to be the authority. I'm also then the one who's teaching myself, the one who's learning, the one who's deciding if I get it or I don't. It's an
Yeah.
incredibly complex moment,
Mm-hmm.
way different. And so, this like, make America great is an incredible slogan because in a way, we want to go back. What did it feel like without this much noise?
Mm.
There are days when I want that, and yet I have to check my email and show up on time. So I think that when I began understanding that we are shifting from a pyramid to a network,
Mm-hmm.
what do I believe in now?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it's less upward and outward and more inward and also embodied.
Yeah.
The up and out is the left brain. It's the right hand dominance, which means many things in many directions. It could be solar energy because it's very consistent, could be masculine, and at its epitome can be patriarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it that we're seeing, the right side brain, is what's asking us to go outside of time,
Mm-hmm.
to be in a mystery we don't understand yet with a quality of trust. So for me, I'm shifting from belief, which is looking for a structure or answer, to trust.
Yeah.
So I'm really ready to dissolve even a seeking almost,
Mm-hmm.
and much more a noticing, wow, I'm so uncomfortable right now. And I am uncomfortable because I'm not getting the answer or outcome I thought I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating that.
Yeah.
How can I trust? And literally, this was me on the bathroom shower floor, kneeling, crying on Saturday morning. Like, this isn't going the way I thought it would. And in
Mm.
that moment, saying, okay, I'm exactly where I need to be.
Mm.
Show me, show me the way. And then what we'll feel is an oscillation. We go
Yeah.
back. What am I looking for? And then I keep making goals. And then like, no, no goals. Come over here. And then feel, trust. And I'm like, no, can't. And so that's a lot of what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so much I could ask about or speak to on what you said. And one thing that I really love, and I've been thinking about a lot, is, and I've been hearing about this like astrologically and just like seeing this in myself and seeing this in the collective, this idea of how individuation supports unity consciousness. And what that means to me is like individuation, like you said, taking instead of this outward focus of like putting all of our authority or trust in something external, how can we be stronger individuals so that we can show up more, supportive to our communities and start building something together based off of each of us being stronger individuals and really strengthening our belief in ourselves. And that doesn't mean, and I at first in different moments of my own exploration, I was kind of like taking this to the extreme of like, I need to be perfect. I need to be emotionally regulated at all times and like responsible for everything and always in integrity and like all these ideals that are, not realistic versus like, what does it actually mean to believe in yourself? What does it actually mean to show up with integrity or a sense of groundedness? And it doesn't mean you're never going to be thrown off. It's just like, how can you increase your level of awareness of self so that you can again like boost and foster your own internal belief system so that you can show up strongly and trust that each of us have authority and each of us have power, each of us have something to contribute, and how can we each meet each other in those moments. So I love that attention of like belief, really the focus on building that internal belief instead of something external.
Right. We have an individual experience of a collective experience. And I can absolutely, it can be like, okay, everything's falling away, and I can get a little survivalist. Fine, then I'm just going to take care of me. I'm going to take care of me, and if I get my act together, it'll serve everybody. But it
Mhm.
also had, you feel it like,
Mhm.
there's a there's a through line
Mhm.
to the trusting,
Mm.
because the self that I'm trusting, and we touched on this before, what if I could discern the self and the soul? And we're just going to play with those terms a little bit. The self as this individual finite experience that does need mastery, that does need to get her act together, that, you got to show up on time. And that's the right brain. And I have a left brain, and I have that.
Mhm.
And I have the capacity to tune in. So what does the self know what to do? It's listening to something larger that is
Mhm.
not of a human construct.
Mhm.
That's the biggest difference. So it's not that I'm alone.
Mhm.
It's that I'm tying myself into where I'm actually sourced from,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
which is this line. So it goes up, but it goes down. This,
Mhm.
and I really feel that there's an ecology of yoga that's emerging in my work enormously, a non-human inclusion, that when I know that I am part of the season and the sky, when I can go and stand on the stones and sit in the river, there's a reestablishment of both my self and my connection to a process that's bigger than mine. So
Mhm.
I'm not solving it alone, but I do have a job to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
One aspect of that is my connection to something
Mhm.
larger.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of places this can go. One is that it's like there's Janine Ben Use, I want to say. Biomimicry is her book, and you're going to have to correct me on that one. Um, Talks about how a forest is a filtration system. That when the tree is taking in water, the water can be heavy water. It can have chemicals in it that are not beneficial. It
Mhm.
filters them out, and that water entering a forest leaves cleaner,
Mhm.
and that air entering a forest leaves cleaner.
Mhm.
And so my aspiration, how can I be a forest,
Mm.
a tree? How can what is coming into me from the world return to the world with a quality of frequency that serves?
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's yeah, it's what you're saying, and I'm just like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That is an example of the natural world and the way in which it tends itself.
Mhm. Absolutely. And one thing you're saying and one theme that's shown up for my life really strongly, and I keep seeing again and again, is like the power of us being a receiver. And I know we talked a little bit before we pressed record of this difference of self and soul. And the self, like we have all these goals, we have these ambitions, we have these things that we're trying to work towards, that we're trying to accomplish and create. And then the soul is kind of beyond that. And it's like tapped into the current, it's tapped into this universal flow. And in my own spiritual practice, I've gone through this whole journey in a mesa path, it's called, in Andean cosmology in Peru. And there was one part of the journey where we were tapping into what is a core value for ourselves in alignment with integrity and in alignment with the crown chakra. And the value that came through for me was receiving, and what it means to me to be in integrity with myself, to be in integrity with spirit, is to be able to be that open, clear channel and transmitter to receive information, to receive messages, to receive support and insight for guidance in my life. And when I think about the power of belief and things that we want to believe in and creating new worlds and all of these things, it's like, yes, I have my own human ideas, and I want to also be this powerful conduit and transmitter for what wants to be birthed through me. So that's something that I think about a lot as well when it comes to believing in new things, of like, yes, I have my own ideas, and how can I open up to receive beliefs and visions that might be beyond anything my like logical human brain might grasp. So
Exactly.
I'll pause there and see what's coming through for you as you hear me say any of that. Pausing this episode for a moment to share that if you want to be able to receive intuitive insights and messages and guidance that will support you no matter what season or moment you're in your life, I created something for you. It's a tool that helps you discover what intuitive practice would serve you most right now. So if you would love to be able to trust yourself, trust your inner wisdom, and you're not sure how to cultivate that connection with your inner compass, go to ginakasbara.com/intuition. It's a really fun, accessible tool. I recommend going to it on your computer if you can. That will help guide you to what intuitive practice will serve you the most by using your intuition to choose. All you have to do is choose a card when you get to the site, and then submit your email, and you'll be sent a video and guidance and practice in how to build this muscle within yourself and really build this skill so that you can open up to receive whatever messages would serve you most. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoy. And with that, let's get back to the interview.
And it's funny, my favorite thing, my favorite way of teaching is one-on-one. So I drop right in and I'm like, Gina, go down.
Mm.
So yes, turn on your antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings and the sensate body
Mm-hmm.
is also a form of receiving
Mm-hmm.
and knowing. And the description you're giving me is all heady.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know in your body? What do you believe in your body?
Mm-hmm.
And like take all of it down a notch
Mm-hmm.
and receive from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting. I went through a whole journey with all of the chakras and values for everything. And the root chakra, the value and totem for me, the value is surrender and the totem is the snake.
Right.
And it's like being able to have all of the things like channeled through all of these values and all of these chakras, and trusting and believing at the end of the day that I don't get to know. I don't get to know where I'm going or what's going to happen. I have my best visions and I can take my best steps moving forward, the best inspired actions that come to me. And at the end of the day, how can I let all of that, like you said, be filtered through me and be able to let go of like, I think this is the best way. I think that sometimes that can be a block when it comes to visions and beliefs. It's like we create these grand vision boards, these grand goals, and we're like, this, if it doesn't go this way,
Mm.
somehow I've
Oh,
failed.
oh.
Like
Yes,
I
I
feel
do.
so hard, right?
Right.
And I'm sure people listening to this, like if you've had a belief and you do all the manifestation work and all the things, and somehow it doesn't go according to plan, this story that we internalize of like, I'm a failure, I'm behind, I didn't do it right,
Mm.
versus like, what if that just wasn't the way it was meant to go? What if there's something else on your path that you were either meant to learn or meant to be guided towards? And so, yeah. And what do you want to share about that, of like, that could maybe help someone listening? If they've had a vision, had a belief, it's not going according to plan, what would you want to say to them?
great. Like how important that step is. Stephen Johnson talks about a book, talks about an idea called adjacent possible, that we can only move to the idea that connects to the next idea that we can make sense of. What is adjacent is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's next to? So I can't jump to Bluetooth. I first start out and everything's plugged in. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I get that technology running and I think, okay, well, how could I do this if I didn't have a cable? But I couldn't jump from no internet to Bluetoothing right away. There's too much that had to happen in between. And
Mm-hmm.
that's true for our lives. I can't run
Mm-hmm.
a teacher training if I don't have a practice.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do enough that I feel it in my body. I need to see other examples. I need to study, sit with it. I need to screw up. I need to get injured. I need to know all the ways that this can play out, or some of
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can begin offering it in a different way. So there are steps. And
Mm-hmm.
I think culturally we went through vision boarding. And what if I think again back to that collective? I'm offering more than my vision, and I'm being allowed to envision. I'm being allowed to imagine my future. This is an enormous step,
Mm-hmm.
especially for women.
Mm.
What do you want to be? What do you want to feel? It was started out quite external. What do I want to do and what do I want to look like? And I
Mm-hmm.
think especially the work of Danielle Laporte was great in like really pushing in, rather than a goal, a sensation. How do you want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so how do I want to feel? And what are the three things I can do today that put me in that feeling? Because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately that's what we're trying to do with our tasks. It's just we get caught up in the tasks. And now we're in a point where there's so much information and
Yeah.
so many demands on us that you can't ever actually get caught up to feel.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have to get a separation, again, that sense of self, so I
Mm-hmm.
can tap in and say, how do I want to feel? I want to feel that Gina and I had this incredible exchange that surprised us. I want to feel surprise.
Mm.
Okay. Then from that sensation, what are the actions we
Mm-hmm.
take to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's coming from Ian McGowan, is in writing through Oxford, and it's a huge book called The Master and His Emissary. And back to I'm stuck on the brain because it helps us understand ourselves much more. Our religion, our theology, the place that we truly believe in is science. As
Mm.
modern Westerners, that's church. And we just think it's separate from church because we think it's true. But it's church. And so when I can root things into science, I feel like that's the adjacent possible. You don't
Mm.
have to jump, then it's, oh, you went woo woo
Yeah.
too far. So I have two hemispheres of my brain. They have different functions
Yeah.
and they have different needs and they have different value systems.
Mm-hmm.
So the master is the thing that we put the strongest belief in. And so if I set an intention and I don't accomplish it and I feel disappointed, I've chosen the wrong master. But if I
Mm.
say, how do I want to feel? And I make my right brain, the left side dominant, the mystery, the timeless, the body, the woman,
Mm-hmm.
how do I want to feel? Now I bring the left brain in and I say, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And I think the vision boards were the place where we started to feel out feeling, doing. I can imagine it. How do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And now we just need to keep that going. How do I want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
That you sounds like this work of yours is extraordinary. And I want to feel my spiritual self participating in my professional self.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift that is.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is the work I choose to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like you're speaking to so often, especially how most of us were raised, were goals, goals, goals. What are the things we're working towards? Like, what do we want to check off the accomplishments list? And in the work that I do as well as a coach, it is that feeling based first, because exactly, it's like, what are we all seeking for if not to feel a certain way? That we think if we get the promotion, we're going to feel successful. If we become a leader of some capacity, we're going to feel proud or whatever it is. So in all the work that I do with my coaching clients, it's so much about, again, back to the kind of shift from external to internal. How can you create those feelings inside of yourself so that as you're going out there taking actions in the world, you're naturally going to be creating more of the things that feel that way, because it's how you're living, not because you're seeking for something external, a person, an achievement, a goal, to leave you feeling that way, because those things are always going to be fleeting. And then what happens when you either get the goal and you don't feel that way, or you lose the job, or the company closes, or whatever else? You're on this crazy roller coaster dictated by external circumstances. So for me, so much of what I think about when it comes to belief, when it comes to creating a life that feels deeply fulfilling and in alignment, it is that exploration of, how do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? And how do you create these feelings of safety, security, confidence internally without having any external proof that would give you that?
And that's, to me, where the adjacent possible is so necessary, because that can be a chasm. And we just, even as you're saying it, like, I'm getting nervous.
Mm.
That,
Mhm.
to finally get into my 50s and stop setting goals. And you were talking about progress earlier, and to trust growth, and that growth has these, in the winter, nothing's really growing. There's a dormancy, but it's busy. There's an
Yeah.
integration.
Yeah.
And then there's a slow, and then summer, bam, you have 2 dozen cucumbers overnight,
Yeah.
and then they die off. And then you
Mhm.
don't see them for 10 months out of the year. There are no cucumbers.
Mhm.
I need to remember that,
Mm.
because there are moments when I'm being at, like, come on now, what comes next? What? And then I ask that of myself. Like, it's not there. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, and my mind comes up with things, because my mind is connected to my eyes, which sees other people and other things. And there's so much going on, and it's amazing. Why am I not doing that?
Mhm.
And again, so the practices that I'm finding very valuable, and the practice, especially Kundalini, is very much about building that sovereignty so that I can stay steady and watch your success, watch all your cucumbers show up.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I don't need to be doing that at the same time.
Mm.
Man, that's work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I think about belief, so often it can feel very intangible, or like, how exactly, you felt nervous. How do I even do that? And I'm hosting an event this week called Believe. It's actually sold out, so I won't talk too much about it. And I will talk about how this is a practice, and it, for people who aren't familiar of how to build this internally, build these feelings, build this trust, build this internal confidence, it can feel daunting. And I know you have practices, I have practices that help make this more concrete and tangible. So I'll share at the end an opportunity for people to connect with me if you want to go deeper into that. And one thing that I will speak to as well, that I would love to talk about with you, is having this be embodied. How do you bring belief work into a felt sense? And for someone who's listening to this and they're like, oh, this sounds like
Mm,
I don't even know where to start,
yeah.
what could be something that you feel called to share right now that might be something tangible, something accessible, to bring this into like a physical practice or a physical thing that you want to share right now?
It's, firstly, stop. I can hear your passion,
Mhm.
and then I can hear that I want a solution, a
Mhm.
hook onto what you believe. I want
Mhm.
you to teach me
Mm.
so that I don't suffer.
Mm.
And I'm familiar with that hook,
Mm.
Buddhism Shenpa, the hook that
Mm.
it's going to go this way, or I'm going to connect to something and it's going to, and just to like hit the clutch, the engine's
Mm.
still running, and let me find me,
Mm. Mhm.
and let me be very honest about where I am.
Mhm.
Right now, personally, I'm very tired.
Mhm.
And when I actually listen to that, I don't want to go to an event.
Mhm.
I want to lie down a minute.
Mhm.
I haven't had breakfast.
Mhm.
I like just, I don't think nobody's selling a program that says, hey, don't come work for me, but pretend we're spending an hour together so you can have an hour for yourself. And just trust that that's okay. And I hear you. I feel like at a cellular level, I feel your drive and your clarity and your provision. And I can tell you that a decade further on, what served me is heartbreak and grief,
Mm.
where I couldn't envision anything other than what was happening.
Mm.
And that gave me ground
Mm.
by giving me groundlessness.
Mm.
It's not going to change.
Mm.
Now, where are we? And then staying in it.
Mhm.
So, work with end of life has has been a balance to the aspiration, or to even the tool building and the gathering.
Mhm.
So many times when we feel unhappy and lost, we feel alone, and we don't want to pause because we don't want to be alone.
Mhm.
And that feels overwhelming. It feels like I'm going to drown it by myself. And it brings us back to where we began. Am I tapped in? Is there something that I am a part of? And yes, you cannot fall out of the life that is this earth.
Mm.
You cannot fall out of it. And so in Kundalini, there are mantras and we use sound. Even if you go, if you put your hands on your body and you just hum, mm, mm, mm. Do it 3 more times. Mm,
Mm.
mm,
Mm. Mm.
and feel the hum stays with you. Now I feel me, and I put my attention to what I can do for me.
Mhm.
And we use the sound, and we use a syllable, sa, ta, na, ma. And sa
Mm.
is birth, and ta is life, and na is death, and ma is return or rebirth.
Mhm.
And you sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. And what happens is the the motor control that's necessary and the tactile reception of your own touch
Mhm.
cannot be processed at the same time that you're trying to process the emotion of despair and separation.
Mhm.
If I'm truly moving my hand,
Mhm.
a sound, making syllables, I
Mhm.
interrupt. So where's the clutch?
Mhm.
I I I can't just take the current momentum and pour it into a new channel,
Mhm.
because then when I leave Gina, I will pour back into my old channel.
Mm.
I need a way to make a gate, and that gate gives me choice.
Mhm.
So I hum to find myself, because my
Mhm.
sound is individual. No one else makes that sound. My body knows my sound.
Mm. Mhm.
And then I find these syllables, sa, ta, na, ma. And I repeat it until I calm.
Mhm.
And I trust that that cycle, there's something starting, there's something going on, there's something ending, but the ending isn't an end, it's a return,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, which part of this is really freaking me out? Maybe the rebirth is not happening. Where's my next chapter?
Yeah.
Or I sent all my kids out and now they're in college and now I have to restart, but I don't know what restarting looks like. Ah,
Mm,
right. And making it small enough
mhm,
that it's just moment by moment. It's not a life plan. It's not a repair. It's just being with right now.
mhm,
Too much is happening too quickly around us. How do I
mm,
create a little like island of right now?
mhm,
I think without that, the larger structure that so many leaders, yourself, you're offering something so important and we're teaching each other all the time.
mhm,
There's a moment when I can't take anymore.
mm,
And I want somebody to teach me how to keep myself company for a second.
mhm.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I hear you. That's been a huge teacher for me the last few years of like that acceptance of feelings, the acceptance of the present circumstances, the acceptance of this moment. And it's like, can I just be with it? Can I be with this moment exactly as it is and just notice my grasping, notice my desires, notice all the things and come back to, like you said, the breath, the body, syllables, humming, anything that helps me return to myself
Mhm,
and hold and tend to myself. For me, it's like going to be with a tree when my emotions are just too much that they feel like they're bursting out of my body.
mhm.
Can I just sit with my back against a tree and
Right.
feel held by that energy and have that moment to come back to, okay, I can find safety even just right now,
Right.
even for this one breath can I come back to myself? Because, like you said, our worlds are so busy. There's so much that we're potentially trying to strive for, trying to achieve. And it's like, again, the self and the soul, the left and the right brain. How do you hold space for both of them
Mhm,
in this beautiful dance of what it is to be human
mhm,
and sink into a little bit more trust in this moment, presence, and know that whether you're going through heartbreak or whether you're going through triumph, that all of those moments have something beautiful to teach us, to offer us, and it's all part of the human experience.
mhm, mhm. I think what you're like going to be with the tree, it works for my when you said hold a tree, my mine is I live next to a river and to sit on the big stones that the river runs over,
Mhm,
we're drawn to that. So to get out of the woo and go back into the science,
mhm,
we're drawn to that because the earth has a vast electromagnetic field. An electromagnetic field is made of electrons. Electrons have a
mhm,
negative charge.
mhm,
So when we adapted to put on shoes, and in particular when we put rubber on our shoes, we are no longer in an electromagnetic current.
mhm,
We were designed, our physiology evolved out of direct contact with the earth all the time,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I've cut off the electron field
mhm,
and we don't sleep on the ground anymore and we don't walk on the ground anymore, but we say, wow, when I go out in nature, I feel so much better.
mhm,
Being on a screen depletes my electromagnetic charge. I
mhm,
have fewer electrons after this conversation than I did
mhm,
when I began.
mhm,
When I walk in my shoes, I'm not replenishing myself.
mhm,
That lack of electron charge in our body is understood in Western science as inflammation.
mhm,
And we need a surplus of of negative charge because there's a negative charge, a slight negative charge on the walls of all of your blood vessels. And so if you think about a negative and a negative, it pushes it away. And
mhm,
so if that was circular, it would be trying to get away. Your blood spins.
mhm,
If there's not, the blood doesn't spin because there's not enough charge. And
mhm,
it needs to move, or you get cardiovascular disease.
mhm,
Okay. And so we have this physical manifestation of not enough contact with what we're designed to require.
mhm,
So
mhm.
how can I, the only thing I need to do is put myself in contact and then trust. I don't even have to trust. I don't have to stand there and concentrate on my feet on the stone. I don't have to concentrate on the tree. I don't have to
Mm.
notice. Just do it. Why do
Yeah.
we feel so good after the beach?
Yeah.
We're flush with
Yeah.
electrons,
Mhm.
but we didn't try.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just for me, it's a recognition that I am a part of a large system that's well designed, and all I got to do is step into it
Yeah.
and let it take over. And if
Yeah.
I know that from my church of religion, and I know that from my church of electrons, then what if I made the daring leap that that might be true at a health level and it might be true at an emotional level?
Yeah.
That I don't need to do anything to be healed or cured. I can show up, and there's a lot going on for me.
Mhm.
And I think that that has changed the way in which I participate in this living experience.
Yeah. So beautiful. So, yeah, like you said, there's all kinds of science and evidence and proof if the brain wants that to be an avenue in, and also see what happens. Just go outside and see what happens when you spend time in nature with a river, with a tree. There's a yoga nature practice that I do all the time, and it always guides you to like think of a happy moment where you feel most alive. And the one that I always pick is just like on the beach,
Yeah,
just like feet in the sand, sun on my face. Like it's just feels so good. So yeah, it's like nature can be our teacher. The seasons can be our teacher. And I know you have some really beautiful offerings coming up this year for people to tap into nature and the cycles and the seasons. So I would love if you could share a little bit about what you have going on, where people can find you and learn from you.
sure, sure. That I think over the past 5 years, this has really grown for me.
Mhm.
The ecological environment that holds yoga union, you are reconnecting when you go to the beach. What if that's yoga? And then we
Yeah.
came up with all these crazy ways of moving ourselves around, which is really wonderful. And I am spring and you are spring right now. That's our season. And so I've created or curated all of the sequences that I offer are seasonally focused
Mm.
so that I can feel a direct sense of the spring. What does spring mean for a human? We can
Mhm.
understand what spring means for a tree because we can see it. So what does that mean
Mhm.
for me when I'm starting something up? When
Mm.
when I are beginning a conversation, when I'm
Mhm.
beginning to cook a meal. There's a
Mhm.
there's an energy that's showing up. Oh, and that's what could be this or could be that. Has a lot of
Mm.
possibility, but I mean, really, once you commit to stir fry, it's hard to turn that into soup. You know,
Yeah.
once you start growing a tulip, it's unlikely that it's going to turn into an oak. And so spring is the what if.
Mm.
So traditionally, Kundalini has done 40 days in a row, the same sequence. So if the sequence stays the same, I can change
Mm.
because I keep coming to the same thing again and again. But each time I do it, it's different and I'm different. So I have a spring one and a spring two. There are 90 days in each sequence, in each season, forgive me. And so my teaching is live on Zoom Monday, Wednesday, Friday for those who are overseas or want to record it. Everything's recorded. You can play it back. And all of it is seasonally based. And we look at what's the beginning of spring, what's the second half of spring, and how do those set us up for summer?
Mm.
And the more that doing this year after year, and the people that have really stayed with us, their work becomes more efficient.
Mm.
Their self talk changes because you stop trying to make it summer all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, cucumbers show up in June. And so if you're angry and you're looking at yourself and saying, "Why aren't you producing more? It's October. What's wrong with you? Why do you want to stay in bed?" Like, wow, because everything else is.
Mm.
When I align to that understanding, I talk to myself differently. I listen for different qualities of growth.
Mhm.
I look I look for a very different interaction with the outer world.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm online on Zoom. You can find it through my website, marthamcalpin.com. There's
Mhm.
a library So there's the live, you can do it with us, but seasons are cycles. So you can go back and do spring of last year,
Mm.
or maybe you're about to finish a job and you could do fall of last year.
Mm.
So you can call on the aspect, the energy that you require and tap into that,
Mhm.
use it, because it isn't only our greatest teacher, it's truly ourselves.
Mm.
We are. And and so there's that, and I teach the same sequence at Tribe. So if you're in Baltimore, then whatever the season is that I'm running online, I'm running that for 40 days at the studio, and then we pick up and we go into the next one.
Mhm.
Currently on Substack, similarly, I'm writing about the season that we're in,
Mm.
lessons that are coming that don't fit into that hour practice, and we so there's a place to kind of get the mind involved, and in the practice, the body is involved.
Mm.
Letting those two talk to one another. And as I said, love to work with people one on one when they need this. We get most confused when we don't remember what season we might be in. My seasons might not be synced up with what's happening.
Yeah.
Right now, being tired and just finishing something, I need to go dormant.
Yeah.
Because finishing is not the end of winter, finishing is the end of fall.
Mm.
Then there's a void.
Mhm.
And honoring that until it's done. And sometimes winter's really long and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I'm not fighting me. I'm noticing that there's something going on. This is what dormancy looks like, or this is what fruition looks like.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's so much of like there's both the natural seasons that we can align ourselves to, and like you said, that each of us might be going through a different season personally. And I think that's again an invitation to notice yourself and release judgment for that. Let go of the comparison of like, oh, but it's summer right now. I should be in summer versus I just went through a completion of something. I just went through an ending. Like I might be experiencing a season of winter in my life where externally we're in summer,
Mhm.
and bringing it back to that internal awareness like we've been talking about this whole conversation of being curious about your own internal state, your own life, having compassion for yourself, and the deeper that you go into that internal reflection, I feel like the more you can be grounded and centered in your own self, both the self and the soul,
Right?
and be open to all of the magic that's available to you right now.
In Ayurveda, the primary question that you begin with, and where any of my one on one work starts with, what's present, what's required,
Mm.
moment
Mhm.
by moment, moment by moment. And that's how you navigate.
Mhm.
And
Beautiful.
only you know what's present for you.
Yeah. So, where can people find you if they want to join any of your offerings or learn more about the work that you do?
MarthaMcAlpine.com is the mothership that holds everything, and that has events upcoming. We've got the Kundalini experience, which is a chance for you to come and do a case study kind of experience that will practice one Kriya each time we meet. And then there's an equal amount of time to ask questions and to hear about it in detail. Like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Why am I doing it for that amount of time?
Yeah, if you're not watching this, Martha's doing something with her hands,
Yeah.
and I've had a experience with Kundalini in her classes, and like that thought. There's so much that goes on internally of like, why am I twirling my fingers 50 times?
Yeah,
So
and there are answers for that. And so when the mind understand, oh, I know what this is doing. And then I
Mhm.
can really like stop listening to Martha and make it your own. And
Mhm.
there's just never enough time. So I've decided we're going to practice it, then we're going to talk about it because I don't want
Mhm.
to interrupt the practice. So that's the Kundalini experience. It'll start in mid-May. The dates are on my calendar under Gather, because how do we practice and how do we gather? And
Mhm.
so that's upcoming, and then I'll be in Mexico for the solstice. I'll be there
Mhm.
June 20 through 25th, and we're
Mhm.
working through the koshas. The We have a physical body, we have an energy body, we have a thinking body, we have a
Mhm.
wisdom body, and our soul in the center. And how do I navigate that? And understanding if I know what's present and I'm racing through my mind, what are practices that can comb and calm that aspect of me rather than
Mhm.
if I feel really stiff because I've been on an airplane, that's a different
Mhm.
that's what Mexico will be.
Mhm.
And then in the fall, There will be a return to the Choose Nurture program, which
Mhm.
is based in Ibiza, and
Mm.
it's an end of life program that's 12 weeks long. I always introduce it by saying, do it for yourself so that you stop pretending it's not going to happen.
Mm.
Endings happen, and not just
Mm.
the end of life, but everything has life. The end of this call, so that I feel that we closed the call in a way that we honored, and then it's safe to start the next thing.
Mm.
So end of life is a vast topic, and it's
Mhm.
also very particular. How do I take care of friends and families, and how
Yeah.
do I do that as a business?
Yeah.
That's September, and then in the fall, I'll be up in Croca, and that's really come sleep on the ground. There'll be no
Mm.
electric lights. You'll be guided on how to tend a fire through the night, what it is
Mm.
to sit with that, what it is to actually be in the dark,
Mhm.
which we don't do as modern people, and we get so afraid. And to slowly tame your nervous system to be in the dark, to be in
Mhm.
the unknown, and you are not annihilated, the dawn
Mhm.
comes. And we intellectualize that all the time. It is
Mhm.
a wholly different experience to sit in the dark until the light comes. That changes everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will be outside and we will be in New Hampshire, and but it is very guided and it is extraordinary and it is a deep process.
Mhm. So beautiful. And that was honestly what the topic that you talked about at Tribe to kind of bring this full circle. You talked about endings and that no matter what we're doing in life, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a job, whether it's an opportunity, whatever it is, being able to accept that everything comes to an end. And what happens when we accept that, when we invite that energy in, was so powerful for me to remember and hear. So, speaking of endings, there's different ways that I end podcasts, and I'm curious to hear too if is there anything coming to you that would feel like a beautiful end to this conversation? Anything that you want to share? Anything that I didn't ask you? Anything that you want to offer?
I hated endings. I mean, I really I to I was handicapped by that.
Mm.
I wouldn't finish a book because then it would be over. I mean, what a disservice to the book and to myself.
Mm.
Or when the oat milk would get halfway down and then I would start really rationing and then I would say, "Hey, you don't need that much in your tea." And and I couldn't understand where the sense like the shortage was in my skin.
Mm.
Being coached and I was being taught and I was journaling and I for the love of God, I couldn't find it.
Mm.
Because I was just adding like add more, just add more oat milk. There's just add more and no, be with endings, Martha. And sit through and I can feel it now and it makes me want to cry. Like yeah, be obliterated. It's ending. As a culture, we do not we add, we cover like my cat, like oh. And how sacred and space making, how fungal, composting, breaking down, it's done. I know you don't want it to be done. It's done. And no
Mm.
amount of procrastination is going to help because that doneness is such a blessing. And
Mm.
I had to be held in that space through great pain.
Mhm.
It took me you separated from my husband 6 years. And then we finally divorced. I just couldn't end, Eva, I couldn't even end the separation. And it would have been better for everybody. So I'm like an evangelist of ending.
Mm.
And it's not even shortage because shortage is the place before the ending. You got to get to the empty
Mm.
and then be okay in the empty.
Yeah.
So I really hugely recommend this. And I don't. So the one thing I would add, and I know we're now going over time, is Francis Weller for me took that. When we get to empty without structure, without community, and without ritual, that's trauma. And
Mm.
there was a reason that I was afraid of endings.
Mm.
And that wasn't safe. They were not safe. But when we take the same circumstance and we create ritual
Mhm.
and we give it time. We give it a particular location. It has a
Mhm.
boundary. We can
Mhm.
come, we can trust, we've got a guide.
Mhm.
That's an initiation.
Mhm.
Exactly the same circumstance that would create trauma and trauma for the rest of your life, you would be trying to fill that hole.
Yeah.
You'd be pulling on other people's resources to fill your hole. That's trauma.
Yeah.
But when it's bound and structured, it's initiation. And I really hope as a teacher to initiate on the safety of emptiness, of endings, that there's something so equally fertile there,
Mhm.
trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last thing that's coming to me right now is like, again, in this power of belief, like believing in the value of all seasons. And so often we resist the ending so hard. I know I have. And being able to be in the grief of that, being able to be in whatever that experience is, and also believe that that's a fertile space to be in.
Right, but
And as
that
a,
takes it takes training.
yeah,
Like, you don't go and pick up 70 pounds by yourself.
yeah,
You have a trainer, and the
yeah,
trainer says, "Let's start with 3 pounds."
yeah.
And so it's a similar process which we've completely neglected,
Hmm.
and I'm so glad to see it showing up. A
Yeah,
lot of grief work, a lot of sorrow work, we're getting it. And that's the next page of the vision board. How amazing are we to be so unhappy that we decide to help each other?
yeah,
Look,
absolutely.
that
And that's,
last reference is Paul Hawken wrote a book called Carbon, and that had a profound effect on my practice, on my outlook.
mm,
Every life form is carbon-based on Earth,
mm,
and it put me back. It just all of my parts are made from things that were other pieces and parts before. And
mhm,
there's a chapter on fungus and this incredible underworld that is repurposing everything we understand as life. I fell into that like prayer.
mm,
I don't need to do that part. I can be the life part and I will be repurposed. Is a
mhm,
wild consolation to me.
mhm.
So again, help the left brain name it, read Paul Hawkins' chapter on fungus, and then fall into, and then there can be the trust. Like the two work together.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. And yes, I agree for sure. All of these things are deep practices. And that's why I'm so grateful for you offering the things that you do, because so much of us were not taught how to do or any of these things or navigate these things, especially in the Western world. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Absolutely. If you're listening, check out Martha's offerings. I've experienced many of them, and they have definitely had a profound impact on my life. So, Martha, thank you so much for being here today. It really was a pleasure to explore all of these very human things with you.
Grief can be really exciting.
I love it. Grief can be exciting.
Exactly. Grief can be, there's a brilliance there. If we're not
Yeah,
alone in it and we know it will pass, it's racy good stuff.
yeah.
Thank you,
So
Gina.
good.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right, my friends, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope something in it resonated with you. And if you are listening and you want to be able to strengthen your belief in yourself and it's ever felt challenging or difficult, I get it. I know that this practice can feel hard sometimes. And this is exactly the kind of work I get up to with my coaching clients. We really approach this from a mind, body, spirit level of how to increase your belief in yourself, in your vision, in where you're feeling guided in your life. So, if you want to take time to even explore these questions, what is it that's calling your heart forward right now? What's getting in the way of you being able to pursue that vision? And what could support you the most to align yourself and your soul and live your most inspired, authentic life? I offer free clarity calls that we can explore all of this together. You can go to ginakasbar.com/clarity call and let's talk. All right, my friend, if you're feeling the call, I cannot wait to connect with you soon. Wishing you all the best, and don't forget to follow your spark.